Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra Tutorials channel. I'm your host Larry, and today I'm going to be showing you a guide on how to kill the Frost Gleeok, and this works for pretty much all of the different Gleeoks in general inside of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now if you're not familiar with these or you haven't seen them up close yet, the Gleeoks are the vaguely dragon-looking creatures that wander around in several different portions of the game. There's a fire one, there's a frost one, there's an electric one, and then there is also the king of the Gleeok in the depths underneath of the main map of Hyrule. So what you're going to want to do is have a couple of different items on hand for this. You're going to want to have a few good bows and some different weapons that you're going to attack with. And then if you want to use armor that isn't just the snow biome armor, I'm going to recommend that you have a meal prepared that is just 5 spicy peppers so that you have the maximum amount of buff for cold resistance. Although if you would prefer, you can also make a meal using mighty bananas that gives you some extra attack damage, which will make this fight go a lot quicker. Although I would recommend having plenty of weapons on hand for this. It makes the fight a lot faster. That way you don't have to like finish it, realize you're missing some, and come back later. So as always, you know, preparation is key. Make sure you've got lots of food. And then the other item that I'm going to recommend that you have on hand is go farm up some of the bats in this game. You're going to want some of the eyes from the different keys. You can have the fire ones, the regular ones. You can even have like the lightning ones. I just wouldn't recommend the frost ones because obviously if you're fighting a frost Gleeok, you're not going to want to hit it with additional frost. It's not going to do much for you. You can also use the Octorok eyes. Those as well have the ability to track their target. So the Frost Gleeok, if you're unfamiliar with where it hides, it's in sort of the northeastern part of the Rito area, like the bird area where it's all snowy. Once you've completed the main Rito quest line there, it'll be a lot easier to go through this fight because you won't have the constant like dark snow going on from the snowfall. And I'm going to actually go to the Skyview Tower just on the hill above it and attack it from the sky for no other reason than I think it's really cinematic and cool. And if you're not going to run around being cinematic and cool inside of Tears of the Kingdom, I mean, really, what's the point? For my purposes, because I've already got it upgraded, I'm using the Fierce Deity set of armor, which is why I wanted to have that food to give me some frost resistance. And then as I dive bomb in on the boss, I'm just going to immediately pull out my bow and load up the Keese eyes and then hit each one of its heads once in the eye. Now you're probably wondering, if you haven't used Keese eyes before in combat, why would you want to fuse these to your bow and arrow? And the simple answer is they turn them into a homing missile that homes in on the critical part of any monster that you use them against. In this case, I'm going to use the frost eyes from, or the fire eyes from the fire Keese because, well, they explode into a bomb of fire and do some extra damage to the Frost Gleeok. And then I'm going to hit each one of the heads in the eye and it's going to slam back down on the ground where I can attack its head and do a bunch of damage. There's a couple of different ways to do this. You can just have a weapon that does a lot of damage, or you can try getting like a flame enhanced weapon. Like I've killed the Flame Gleeok already. And I have its body parts that I turned into a sword. That's a bit of a flamethrower. You can use that as well. You can also use a heavy two-handed weapon and sit between two of the heads and do a spin attack. Just try to use something that you have a lot of control over because you're going to want to get away from the heads a little bit before they start to wake up so that they don't like stun lock you with frost in the case that I had happen. And you want to be able to get away and shoot them in the eyes again so they slam back down on the ground. What you want to avoid is letting the Gleeok fly all the way up into the air because then they're going to use a giant bombardment attack which will probably one-shot you or nearly one-shot you no matter how many hearts you tend to have around the time that you're ready to fight these mobs. Ideally, if you keep the Gleeok stun locked by shooting it in the eyes immediately and running up and stabbing it, you shouldn't have many problems. It should slam back down the ground and you can continue to attack it over and over again until it's dead. And then it should drop its guts. It should drop some elemental themed horns, which will emit like a flamethrower or an ice thrower or an electric thrower, depending on which Gleeok you kill, along with some wings and some various other bits and bops, depending on which ones that you kill. So that's, in general, kind of like the bread and butter of killing all of the Gleeoks, including King Gleeok. You just use something to shoot them in the eyes to stun lock it. Once they're on the ground, bully them with a weapon, and then once they're dead, you're good. The key here is to make this easier and you don't have to think about it. Just farm up some Keese eyes. It really doesn't matter which ones, as long as it's the correct elemental theme if you want to use elemental eyes, and you should be good to go. And of course, making sure you have lots of food on hand and weapons so that you don't run out mid-fight. So that'd be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Larry. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.